and give me shelter, shelter. Simple life, it's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love and give me shelter, shelter. Yeah.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the We Too All Liberians Movement platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Again, this is your one and only platform, the platform that speaks to for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we are in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Today is an exciting day for me to have in studio our own Mr. Gebah as Kamara. He's going to be our guest for tonight. I'm going to tell you straight off the back that he's a force to reckon with, and I'm so excited to have him. I've known him for some time now. And so just to begin with, we're going to ask Mr. Gebah to introduce himself. But just before that, I want to give our viewers just a little background about Mr. Gebah. Mr. Gebah is actually an accomplished author, having written over 6 books on Liberia, democracy, and Africa or African history and achievements. As a founding member and vice president of Solid Foundation Charity USA, he plays a vital role in empowering women and girls through educational initiatives and community support in Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the distinguished pleasure and honor to present to you our one and only Mr. Gebah as Kamara. So I want to take this time now to ask you, Mr. Gebah, to please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Brother Yeti. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are. And thanks for having me on your platform. It's truly an honor to be here. My name is Gebah Sekou Kamara. I currently serve as the Vice President for Solid Foundation Charity USA and also Charity Foundation Charity at Abid or Liberia. I'm also a clinical and mental health case management supervisor at Resources for Human Development that's in Philadelphia. I have over 50 years of experience working in mental health, foster care, education, and substance abuse treatment center. I'm also a Liberian author. I have wrote, like my brother said, at least 6 books now and counting. And actually working on a memoir that's supposed to be released soon. So yeah, look forward to talking more about it and also other issues surrounding our country.
Wow. That's great. Again, welcome to the platform. This is the We Too All Liberians Movement platform. Our platform or the movement is more than just a community. Is actually a way of life rooted in the principles and balance of growth and unity. The We Too movement focuses on creating harmony across all aspects of life. And so it's a pleasure to have you tonight today in our studio. We're going to move right into our second item on the agenda here tonight. So could you please tell us a little bit about your journey, your parents' primary school, grade school, high school, college, university experience, and things of that nature?
Okay, thank you. You see, my journey is it's one of those things that, like, you know, when you go into the detail, you sit and wonder, say, wow, how did you make it? But again, you know, I attribute everything to the Almighty God, you know, for guiding me through all this process. And of course, you know, to ordinary, you know, strangers that also came along, you know, the way. I was born in Liberia. I was raised in Banga, Bon County, by my aunt, who I consider my grandmom because she was my dad or older, you know, sister. My dad and his sister originally came from the Republic of Guinea during the French and Guinea War, and they settled in Liberia. And yeah, so I was not privileged. Like most young men growing up with their father. I'm the last of four kids. My older brother, he's 78 years old, so he practically raised me. When I knew my father, he was already old. So I
Wow.
did not have a son and father relationship. And when I knew my father, I was probably like maybe 13, going on 14. Same thing with my mom. I didn't know that I had a mother. I actually told my older sister, what's my mom? Because she's the one that took care of me, did everything um, in Banga. So I got to know my mom at the late age too, as well. But my early education started with an Islamic school, what we call madrasa. Um, I attended madrasa school in Banga, Bong County. The only language I spoke at the time was Badingo and maybe a little bit of Pellet. Bong County is, it's the home of the Pellet tribes. So I was there, and later, due to ritualistic killing in Liberia, I mean in Banga at the time, my grandmother was scared for me, so she, dispatched me to go and live with my father. It meant that I barely knew. So leaving Banga to go, to live with my father in the village in Bopolu, it's a town called Koma. The late, well, sorry for saying the late. The former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, is from that same town as well. She's from the new town of Koma, and we from the old town. But little bit of same, lineage when it comes to, the settlement in that area. So, yeah, so it was a strange adjustment to live finally see my father, who was like my grandfather in my age. I mean, in my mind. Um, with no relationship. So I stayed with him briefly, and then later, my older brother, whom I mentioned earlier, raised me. He was in the army. He was a warrant officer in the army, engineer. Uh, they were mostly, responsible for the construction of many barracks in Liberia. He was the coordinator between the U.S. government and the Liberian government. So as such, we move a lot from different barracks to different barracks. We originally settled in Camp Shuffling. So I went to live with my brother in Camp Shuffling at the age of 13, between 13 and 14. And that was my first time settling among people that spoke English other than Mandingo. So then I started to learn English at that late age of 13, 14. In fact, my early education, or Western education, actually started around that age. I eventually, was able to succeed. I was teased a lot because I was the older in my class, in all the classes. I mean, imagine back in the day in Liberia, they don't put you in classes just based on your age. They put you in a class because, that's where you are. If you're 12 years old and you're in a kindergarten, you're going to be sitting in the same classroom with a kindergarten, kid. So they used to tease me, ABC Boyo. I don't know you guys, remember those words, but that's what Fred used to tease me. So yeah, so I used to be so embarrassed because I was in the first grade, worked my way to first grade, second grade. I was this older. I had on my legs. Most of the kids did it. We used to wear short pants. So I
So,
would.
Mr. Kamara, I'm gonna try to. I'm not gonna cut you off because I'm gonna make this a little bit more interactive.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started kindergarten? If you could remember that.
I was at least around 13 years old.
So
Yeah.
what was that challenge like? Because I know a lot of the kids, 13 years old, was it in Banga or was you
No,
have already made that transition?
ink and shuffling.
Kin shuffling, and so
Yeah. So
it seems like I wasn't following that
okay.
part of the
Yeah. So in
conversation.
Banga, I started school, but it was Islamic school, what you call the madrasa, where we recited and read the Quran, memorize the Quran. So at the age of 13, I could memorize the entire Quran. So that
Wow.
actually helped me when I started Western education because I could memorize everything that the teacher taught.
So
So
this school now was an English school that you be transitioning to.
yeah, in Camp Shuffling.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Shuffling Elementary and Junior High School in the Military Barracks.
So this wasn't any there wasn't any challenge for this experience now because just like you mentioned, you spoke Mandingo, you spoke a little bit of Pella at the time, and now here you are as young as you were. I believe you was still a little under 13 years old, and now transitioning to school there and shuffling. Here will be amongst children who will be speaking English.
Yeah.
What was the challenge? I know we talk about your challenges and things like that. So what was the challenges then that you
I
had?
mean, the challenges was tough because I couldn't, obviously, like I said, I was always teased. First of all, I still brought my Islamic practices with me, where I still used to pray 5 days, 5 times a day. And this was the first time that people ever seen anyone doing what I was doing. So as a result, a kid would tease me or push me when I go to bow down, even adults. Some of them have not seen a Muslim person before. So it's because of that pressure, as a kid, obviously I succumbed. I stopped praying, and then I started to go to Sunday school with the missionaries. We used to have missionaries from the Byway Mission School, and they would come to the camp and take all the kids in the camp and take them to Sunday school. And that's where my actual curiosity to learn started from. When I first touched, I don't know if any of you guys remember, there was a book in Liberia. It's called Mind Bible Stories, a yellow book with a red, writing or imprint on the back. When I first saw that book and I could see images and pictures, it told the story of Jesus, told the story of Noah, told the story about Moses. It told the story about Pharaoh. That there, it was the transition that I attribute to enlightening or sparking that spark that was somewhere in me. And from there, I just started moving on. Everything that I put my hands on, I would learn to read it and read out loud. Even I wasn't pronouncing the words correctly, I still did. And through that process, I was able to memorize a lot of stuff. And in school, I was always, got double promotion. So before I turned 15, 16 years old, I have already catch up with where I'm supposed to be based on, normal standard.
Amazing.
Because of, my ability to memorize stuff and attribute that from the Quranic, recitation and memorization.
So then I want to hold you there because so you memorize the entire Quran. Now here you are transitioning to a Western English school and you're making strides, you're getting double promoted, getting skipped and things like that, we'll say. So besides memorizing, were you comprehending some of these things that you're reading? Because you said that this one book that you encounter, here you're seeing the story of Noah, the story of Moses, and that those stories, I believe, inspire you, kind of lit a bump in your hair. Were you really comprehending, or was it just about memorizing? Walk us through this.
Well, if you're talking about the Quranic, are you talking my Quranic experience or my Western education
Both the
experience?
Quran, because as young as you were, you memorized the entire Quran. Here you are, you made that transition to Western school where you were already somewhere around 13, but because of your capability to memorize the entire Quran, going to Western school, now encountering this story about Noah and Moses, also kind of propel you because that was where you had your turning point. I'm saying, besides memorizing, were you really comprehending what you at that time? Were you comprehending what you were reading?
Not a lot because I was young. I was young. My brain was like a sponge. Whatever you put in there, I mean, obviously it sticks, but not like I really understood the world. Like the whole concept of religion, the whole concept of God. The whole concept of heaven. I did not really understand those things at the time, but these words was there that I could memorize and repeat, with my eyes closed. So as for the Quranic part, I would say that I really comprehend or understood a lot of the stuff that I would recite or write, because it's Arabic. And Arabic was not, obviously my, native dialect. So no. But when it comes to the Western part, the images, because the Quran, remember, it doesn't have any images in it. So this was the first time that I actually opened a book that had images in it. And that, like you said, it light the light bulb. Oh my God, there's a world beyond where I'm, what I'm used to or where I came from. There's a bigger world than that. And I was intrigued to know about that world or to explore it more. So again, I would read, didn't quite understand or comprehend a lot of the words at the time I was reading. But eventually over time, I got to, understand what I was reading. And that, again, sparked, the light bulb in my head. And I would read anything, newspaper, whatever, anything I laid my hands on, I would read. Because it was part of helping me to, learn the English word much better and comprehend it much better. So I did a lot of self-taught or self-teaching.
Wow.
Yeah. So eventually, I moved to Gertie Street as a teenager. Went to Matilda Nipo Junior High School, and then later to Monrovia Central High School. Monrovia Central High. Yeah. Graduated from there, and then unfortunately the Civil War started upon my graduation. Because I live in the army, in military barracks or in the army barracks, we moved from Camp Shuffling and moved to Camp Tody. So because living in the barracks, the army was all that I knew. So I wanted to be an aircraft mechanic.
So I want to hold you. I want to hold you there before we get to that. We're going to get right back to it, but I want you to tell us. I still want to go back. You as a child who from a Quranic school background, going to a Western school, and was able to manipulate this, not manipulating the system, but you work your way because of how smart you were. I want you to tell us here what were some of the challenges that you had. I'm pretty sure even though you were able to comprehend, but the challenges, like you said, you were bullied and things. Other than that, what were some of the academic challenges that you had with teachers, not only the your peers or counterparts in high school?
With teachers, back then the way teaching used to happen in Liberia, it was a little different than now you see. Teacher was very helpful. I would say we did have a really great teacher, other than, the beating. Because those that beat you if you can't say the word. Because they would put us in the hallway, and you would be asked questions or recite the timetable to whatever numbers, and the teacher turned to you. If you can answer that, another student answer it, that student is going to beat you. Or we were put in the hallway to do spelling, and if you can't spell, then of course. So with that pressure, I was constantly on top of my game. And again, with my ability to memorize stuff, I was able to grasp a lot of these, spelling, the math concept, history. So it was a challenge on that part. But teacher was very, helpful. They were very resourceful. I don't know of other area, but in Camp Shuffling, we did have a lot of resources, even recess. The government used to provide recess for us. So kids were not sitting in classroom hungry. There was always something there, that kids could fall back to.
Okay, so then we'll take it back to now you graduate high school, because I know you did talk about that. Graduated high school, you live at the barracks. Now, walk us through your experience at the barracks and talk a little bit. I'm pretty sure after you graduate high school, living there, you went to college. Something
So when we moved from Camp Shuffling, we moved to Camp Tody, and just within that time, the 1980 coup, took over, and my brother got arrested because he was, an officer at the time. So all the officers was arrested. So we didn't know where he was. So we were kids, 3 kids living by themselves in this big military barrack in officer quarter, not knowing, our guardian or our father, as we referred to him, was that. A week later, we learned that, he was, incarcerated along with every, military officers in Liberia. And I guess a month or two later, he was released. And upon his release, he was dispatched to Monrovia, where he was assigned at the Ministry of National Defense. And then we were able to relocate. He sent for us in Camp Tody, and we relocated in Monrovia, where we settled. And then I again went to Matilda Nipo Junior High, and then later into high school, Monrovia Central High School. Upon graduation from there, I joined the Army very briefly. Unfortunately, when I joined the Army, the Civil War started, and happened to be one of the very, group of EDI 90, as people referred to them at the time, to be dispatched in Nimba County on the front line.
You must have been pretty young when that happened.
Oh yeah,
so,
very
young. So then walk us through that whole experience of being in the military and how maybe you transitioned from the military into civilian life.
So upon graduation, I was stationed at the Executive Mansion, as the Executive Mansion Guard Battalion for probably 2 months or less. And then we were asked to escort, some ammunition, food, supplies to the soldier in the front line. And that's how I got picked. I was terrified, honestly. We saw it on the news, we heard about it, but going to face the rebel at the time was, even though I was a trained military person, but that 90-day training, I don't know if it prepared us for what we were about to go experience. So when we arrived in Nimba County, some of our troops had just got ambushed by the MPFL, and I saw dead soldier for the first time. I saw wounded men for the first time. Then I paused myself and asked myself, what the hell did I got myself into? Is this really the job that I want to do? But unfortunately, it was late. I couldn't retreat. I couldn't leave. So we were stationed there for about 6 months, went through different battles. The Battle of Palala, where General John Wild Kriku, he was former, I think, superintendent or something like that, got killed. That battle is one of the most memorable one, because I don't even know how I survived, but thank God, here I'm at today. Came to many near close death encounter, but managed to escape after we lost. Palala fell to the rebel. We moved to Banga, for reinforcement, which didn't come probably like 2 days later. And a friend of mine and I managed to escape. We went AWOL, and upon returning back to the Executive Mansion, the news at the Executive Mansion was that we were ambushed. So many of the folks there knew that I was there, actually, until when I was walking towards the Executive Mansion ground, and a friend of mine, he's dead now, may his soul rest in peace, saw me and he froze. And I'm calling his name, Asco, and he's just froze. He can't move. And I have to walk 10 feet towards him and hold him. And he took a deep breath and gee, I thought you were dead. The people told me that you guys got ambushed. So long story short, his commander decided that he wanted to interview me. And upon our interview, what I told him about the actual story from the battlefront and what was happening there, and I told him this day that this war is going to come to Monrovia. Because at that time, people in Monrovia just thought the war was going to stay in Nimba County. It's never going to come to Monrovia. The army was going to crush the rebel, and kumbaya, everything was going to be fine. So there was people around the president at the time telling him that. So me, not being a member of the Crown tribe, being an ordinary person, a young observant person, a soldier who actually fought and stayed there, I came with a different perspective. And he was really amazed. He like, soldier, he said, I'm taking you to the president so you can go see the president. He said, I want you to tell him exactly what you just told me. He said, because these people are lying to the president. All the soldiers around were so excited. They're like, oh, wow, you're going to see President Doe, you know, and they're always like, oh, maybe when you come by, you know, he's going to give you money. He's going to promote you. You're going to be an officer, all that stuff. But for me, I just wanted to get out of the army, right? I just wanted to pack my stuff, go back to Gertie Street to my family, because they had not seen me at this time for over 7 months, because I went for training. From training, I was dispatched, you know, to the front line. So, but unfortunately, when we got in the elevator, went on the 7th floor where the president was residing at the time, we met his aide-de-camp. I think his name was General Gay. And, you know, the guy that carried me, he was a captain in the SATU, which was the anti-terrorist unit at the time. And he was a member of the Crown tribe. So the general automatically thought I was Crown. So he spoke to me in the Crown dialect, but I didn't respond. I responded to him in English. And then he turned back to the captain and said something to the captain. And then he turned back to me, asked me, "You what tribe?" And I told him it's Mandingo. He said, "Oh, okay." And then later, the captain told me, he said the general told him that the president was sleeping. So we couldn't see the president that day. And then the general, you know, asked me when I was returning back to the front. I lied to him. I said, you know, I was being returning back in 2 days, but that was a lie because I wasn't going back. So he did, because my uniform was so dirty. So he ordered his men to give me a brand new suit of uniform, which they did. And upon taking that uniform, I went to our, you know, camp or dormitory, packed my bag, got on the beach from the executive mansion, and I walked all the way to Getty Street, South Beach. And from that day, it was the end of my army career.
So then, for the sake of time, if you've tuned in, you're watching the We Too Our Librarians Movement platform. This is what we do. We're about changing the mindset, the thought process of our people. We are live with our guest tonight, or today. Our guest is no other but Mr. Gebah S. Kamara, who is he's a professional. He's going to talk a little bit about his professional side. We just want to quickly go into your college life, because I know now you've worked or served the military, how you transitioned from Liberia to the diaspora, and what was your college experience, and then just transition to your professional life.
Thank you. So my early college experience started in Liberia, I believe it was 1995, actually. I enrolled at AME Zion Community College for criminal justice. Graduated with an associate degree in criminal justice and juvenile delinquency. Right after that, I had the opportunity to travel to the United States. Upon arriving in the United States in 1998, I enrolled at Lincoln Technical College, did automated technology, because I used to work at a car dealership. That was my first job when I first entered the United States. So I was curious about what was going on with these cars. And I wanted to not just, you know, detail the car, but I wanted to know how to fix it. So as a result, you know, I was prompted to go to Lincoln Tech, you know, Institute in Philadelphia, graduated I believe in 2003, with an associate degree in automotive, you know, technology. Upon my graduation, my passion for criminal justice was still yearning, was still burning. So I enrolled at the University of Phoenix, one of their local campus in Central City, Philadelphia, where I graduated with a bachelor degree in criminal justice administrations. And then I started to have a change of career into social work. I worked with the Capital Relief Services as a social worker. While working there, you know, went back to school to get my master's. New England College, where I got a master's in criminal justice administration and leadership. Upon graduating with my master's degree, I got a job to work with the Philadelphia prison system. I was a forensic evaluator there for about 4 to 5 years. While doing that, I got a teaching opportunity to teach at Kaplan Institute to teach the criminal justice program. So I was teaching the criminal justice there as an adjunct professor. And while teaching at Kaplan, I have an opportunity to pursue another degree when Homeland Security, was just being introduced in many colleges at the time. It sounded very unique, and it was something that really drew my passion. So I enrolled at Kaplan University, where I earned my second master's in Homeland Security and Emergency Management. And I worked briefly with the Chester County Emergency Services before moving to work with Public Health Management Corporation. And today I work as a clinical mental health supervisor with resources for human development.
Wow, that's power pack. Amazing job on your side. We're exceedingly proud of your accomplishment. It seems like you've done a lot. I mean, talking about from earning your associates in Liberia, transitioning here, and another associates in I guess auto mechanic, and then a bachelor's. You didn't stop there. So what really is the drive? What really is when I say that passion that sparks in you to want to add more value, want to always pursue higher education? What was that spark?
One thing I have learned is that resilience and education are a powerful tools, for overcoming adversity. To any young person listening today, do not give up. Challenges will come, but they are not meant to stop you. They are meant to build you. Just surround yourself with the right people who believe in your dreams. Stay committed and always remember, your why. And I have to define my why. What's my purpose on this earth? What do I want to leave behind? I always believe making the best way we can transition this world is to make it better the way we left it. We can't go saying, oh, because my parent didn't do this for me, so I'm not compared to do this for any other person or my own child. I grew up, I was the first in my family to go to college. I was the first in my family to travel to the United States. I was the first in my family to do so many things, right? But so it wasn't like I saw somebody in my family as a role model to emulate. No, my inspiration was much more of a collective mindset of openness, right? I was intrigued about the world. I read about successful people like Nelson Mandela, like Kwame Nkrumah, like all these great leaders. Those were the people that drove me. Their passion, their desire to change the world, their commitment to world peace, their commitment to serve, those that are left behind or the marginalized in our society. Those are the things that really drove me. It wasn't from my environment or my community or my parents. It was actually those, inspiring leaders. And that's why I try to live my life in a sense that I can inspire other people so they can pick up from my example that look at this guy who didn't know how to speak English, Madingo man or Madingo boy, right? Studying school at 14 years old. And being able to go all through these, adversity in life. And here he is today, because it scared me myself. Sometimes, there's something called, I forget the right terminology for it, but where you feel like you don't belong here, right? You have an accomplishment, you've done this all, and you look at yourself, you're like, oh wow, I can't believe that I did this. So when I used to stand in a classroom to teach American students of all different backgrounds, it scared me. Honestly, I'm like, what? No, this can't be me.
That's really highly commendable of you. I mean, to come from the background where mom and dad, you didn't even see mom and dad at an early
Nope.
age. You got
Nope.
introduced to those people when you were already pretty much a teenager.
Yeah.
So we want to commend you for that. You know what I mean? All of the accomplishment from Liberia, like I said, to, transition into the States, acquiring your college education. But what's more important here, I know you talked about that yourself, just seeing how after graduation, you serve as, you did say that, a forensic evaluator with the Philadelphia prison system and a joint professor. So that's it. Really, it stands out for me that you did not only acquire your education, but you also put yourself in the seat where you wanted to give back, and you taught. So, and you're still teaching. The fact that, we talked about it earlier. You wrote several books. Now you're in the process. You wrote 6. You're in the process, right? I believe writing 7 books. So that's a plus to you there. And to any young man out there, I think Mr. Gebah is a prime example. You can be anything if you want. Do not allow your today the condition or the situation that you are faced with today to deter you. You can be anything if you put your mind to it. And this is why we want to make sure we attract like-minded people, and because we see here that our people are giving up along the way, Mr. Kamara, and so we want to bring people to the platform so that they can share their stories. Their stories can serve as testimony, so those of us who are giving up along the way can learn from. So we want to thank you for that, the experience. And but we would like to pivot a little bit from your personal life now, and to just before we transition to politics, we want to talk about the I believe the charity the Solid Foundation charity, right?
Yes.
Organization, is that what it's called, right?
Yeah.
So what is this organization about?
So before I go, into the detail about what the organization is all about, I do believe that for those who, have been blessed, have the responsibility to look back and bless somebody else. When you're up there, look down and see who else you can bring with you. I learned that in a lot of leadership development training that I have done over time, that as a leader, be prepared to train someone to replace you. But when you are afraid to train people to replace you, you're not a good leader, right? So for me, I'm already accomplished. Honestly, I don't need to be a millionaire. I did everything that I needed to do, given, the circumstances that I came from. So what can I do to inspire others? Whether it's through my writing, whether it's through my charity, foundation, that's my goal. So I have been going to Liberia, visiting, bringing books with me to give it to the schools in Liberia. Identify a few schools, I buy my own books, or sometimes I would do donations, from friends and family, and they buy books for me, and I'll take it to Liberia and give it to all the schools, and then computers and all of that. So 2 years ago, I went with my mother-in-law, who is a professional counselor. She wanted to visit Africa for the first time. She and her husband, who is also, Caucasian, first time to visit Liberia. But they wanted to make an impact. They're like, I don't want to go, sit on the beach. I want to make an impact, but I want to be involved with women and girls. So I reached out to my nephew in Liberia. I said, hey, find me an organization that is geared towards, women empowerment and girls. And we were able to connect with a group called Women of Faith in Robertsport. It's a fishing community. And these women, they gather fish, sell, and the proceeds used to distribute among their members. So when we met with them, we found out what their problem was. A lot of these women were sleeping with Fontaine people in order to get fish to go and sell to feed their kids. But the money was not even enough to feed the kids, or even their loan send them to school. So we decided to change that trajectory. We're like, this cannot be your lifestyle. But we were not going to take money to give it to you guys. This is what we're going to do. We want to empower you, not
Definitely.
give you. Yes, we're going to give you, But whatever we gave you, we wanted to empower you so that you'll be able to empower your community, your family as well, and become a source of, support, revenue, and leaders in your community. So we told them, you guys already know how to sell fish. We don't need to teach you that. Your problem is to source the fish, how to get it. The source that you're using right now cannot be, it's illicit. You can't do that. So what we did, we put together about 15,000 United States dollars and bought 2 boats along with the engines to allow them to go in deep sea where they'll be able to catch, much more better, fish that they can sell for better yield. And we were able to do that today. As I can say to you, we started with about 100 women. Today, the number have increased up to 200 plus. And all these women have had testimony of how today their kids are able to go to school. Today, their kids are able to eat breakfast, 2 meals a day at least. Today, they're able to give their kids recess money. Today, some of the men or fathers that left those kids with them are coming back to these women because they see what the women are doing. So it was based upon that experience that we decided to create solid foundation after understanding the tremendous need of these women and how we can replicate that same idea in other communities in Liberia. And by doing so, we decided that having a nonprofit will help us to do it, because everything we're doing it from our pocket, our paycheck. So equally so, we were also able to identify schools, 5 schools in Liberia that we supply computers to. There was a school called the School of Light in Brownsville. They had a very beautiful computer lab, but there was no computers in there. And when we got there, they requested for us that they wanted to open a computer lab, but there's no, computers. When we came by, we were able to put together 15 computers with desktop, monitor, everything that they needed, and we ship it to them. Went there during our last visit and set it up. Today, these kids have access to digital computer, because these were kids in 12th grade that had never have any computer education or digital education. Any nation today eliminate themselves from the digital education, it's a nation that is left behind, because everything, the new economy is digitalized.
Information technology.
Access to computer is not a privilege anymore. It's a must. Access to internet is not a privilege. It's a must, especially for a country like Liberia. So that's prompted our, organization, and we've been serving, schools as well, women groups, children, and we continue to do that, with the goal of expanding into the mental health space, because that's one thing also that was alarming when we saw the devastating drugs addiction and mental health situation in Liberia. So me having a background in that field, and my mother-in-law as a professional licensed counselor, we decided that, part of our solid foundation project in Liberia should be based on, mental health educations and, counseling or treatment services, for individuals suffering from these, chronic mental health situation or episodes.
This is incredible, fantastic, and amazing job by not only you, but also your organization. And that organization is I have the name down here. That's Solid Foundation Charity. I guess we will call that organization has a branch in Liberia, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do have a registered branch in Liberia. So we have a website. You can type in www.solid foundation with an S US Solid Foundation USA.org, and you will find us there, and you will see the work that we are doing.
This is
we
excellent.
also, appreciate any donations,
to
go towards educations and empowerment towards the purchase of books. We do have, as I speak to you right now, we have containers of books and school supply. One of the major obstacles that we have is shipping stuff, We still have to ship these things, pay for it, and then pay the government to clear these things, and then to go and distribute to the school for free. So you see all of those hurdles. So if we can get some of those hurdles out of the way, I mean, we can be able to reach many schools and groups in Liberia as well. In addition to that, we also have about 10 kids right now on scholarship in Liberia, where we take care of their tuition free. They don't have to worry about it, their families, their parents. But we would like to increase that number. But that number will only come from, the charitable donation from friends. Because we're doing this on our own,
Wow.
We're literally doing all these on our own.
This is Power Pack. We're Power Pack. We're about 45 minutes into the program. We wanted to just do 45, but we would do 50 minutes, or we would do an hour. So we have about 15 minutes. But like I said, this is highly commendable of Mr. Gebah, Kamara, and his organization here. So if you would like to support them, like he said, I think he said it all. I didn't really have to ask the question. He laid it all out there. And one thing that you say, I think, is really important for us to take into consideration, because the education that you have, the degree that you have, or that diploma that you have achieved or obtained is not just a document that you put on the wall. Just like you said, it calls for us to reach back and help those who are, who are not able to do for themselves. So just like you said, that those females who were there, they had to sell their bodies or then became destitute. The way to help them was not to go there and give them handout, but to empower them. So the goal of the organization, for the most part here, is to kind of educate, to cultivate, and to empower. So we want to say thank you very much for that. I think this interview is so inspiring. I'm listening. I'm all glued to just hearing everything that you have to say here. So, like I said, we will quickly then transition to politics. I have three quick questions. I don't know if I would say questions or points that I want you to kind of briefly talk about or throw a light on. And these are issues that our country is faced with. One, political instability. Two, weak rule of law. Three, the challenges of attracting long-term investment for critical infrastructure projects. And that brings me to now introduce our topic, because the whole time we're just talking about Mr. Gebah, right? We said conversation with Mr. Gebah as Kamara. So now the real question here tonight or today is there any hope for the future of Liberia? Having said all of that, we'll go back to it. Political instability, weakness, or the weak rule of law, you know what I mean? And then the challenge or challenges of attracting long-term investment for critical infrastructure projects. Considering everything that just happened, a divided house, 1, 2, we had a major protest, and then 3, we just had. And I know you wrote a commentary on the our the Sacred House, the Capitol building that was ruined. And so I want you to kind of throw light on those, as we move towards closing our interview for the night today.
Thank you, Ayete. I mean, the political situation in Liberia, as well as the economic situation in Liberia, is one thing that really keep me up at night. And I just phantom in my head. I can't phantom why, we have leaders that cannot find solution to these things, because they're not that, big at all, right? They're not that difficult, provided we can give away our selfish greed and desire out of the way, and think about the people that, need it the most. Like I said to you earlier, for those who opportunity is being given to, it is incumbent upon them to look back, to bring somebody along.
So, Mr. Kamara, I'm not cutting you off, but I want you to first answer that question as you delve deep into those points that I laid out there. 1, is there any hope for the future of Liberia?
Yes, there's a lot of hope. One thing I have done, right? I have traveled a lot, and everywhere I go I travel. That's one thing that I love doing. That's my, inspiration. That's my self-care. Other people do different things, but I travel. And when I travel, I like to go to places to see, what is it that they have in this country that we don't have in Liberia, or the similarity. What do we have in Liberia these people have here? How are they cultivating what they have here, right? That we have in Liberia, we're not cultivating. And I tell people, Liberia is like a big virgin that have not been touched yet, right? Tremendous resources. We are so blessed with one of the best waterway and sea coasts in Liberia. Everywhere you go in Liberia, there's river, there's water. What are we doing with those things other than dumping trash in them? How can we turn those things into resources? You have the whole entire Monrovia, right? That is clogged with taxis and keke and motorbike. And we have rivers that connect the whole entire city. We do not have, for the life of me, we don't even have one water taxi running running along the coastal line of Monrovia to deliver people from point to point. This can be something that can be done for the private sector, or this can be a government initiated or a government, private partnership initiated. I'm like, all this time, you want to tell me there's no leader that can envision these things? Tourism. One thing that really in my writing, I talk about the Black American connection. Again, I love to travel, and I go into history to see where Ghana came from to get to where they are. Many of you have traveled there, right? How Ghana was able to tap into the diaspora, their own diaspora, which is a resource, and the American diaspora. What does Ghana have in common with Liberia? With Black American, other than, most of the slaves came through the Gold Coast to come to the United States, right, and around the world. Right. But we know for sure Liberia, when they left from here, is where they settled. They helped, they built that country. They created what we call today Liberia. Why aren't we tapping in them to tap into that connectivity, the culture, right? The culture, the social, the economic, the religious connection that we have with these people. Today, Black American economic power is over trillions of dollars. Just alone, over $3 billion Ghana made just from economic tourism from Black American and other Blacks from over. Why are Liberians tapping in these things? And I've said, don't give it to the Ministry of Tourism. Create a department that is solely based on that aspect of how can we connect and tap into, the diaspora as well as our Black American ancestry. How can we connect them back to the land? And it has to be intentional. We don't just do the half-ass stuff that, somebody did and try to do another, Afrochella in Liberia that failed miserably. Ghana took her time. You have to build the infrastructure. You can't create tourism without infrastructure. You have some of the best waterway in Liberia. You have Ravenspo, beautiful place. If you ever been to St. Martin in the Caribbean, it's no different from Ravenspo. What are we doing there? Nothing, right? You go to Marshall, beautiful water scenery. You should have hotels, restaurants in those areas. What do you have there? Nothing.
So with that being said,
the potential is there. The leadership and the capability, are not there. And how do we solve that problem? We can come into that in the next segment. So I'll let you come in.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I know, because you said it all. I think last several days I had another guest on the show, and we kind of talk about the same thing. Some of the things that he mentioned. He talked about how Liberia was in the past a producing economy, had a producing economy now. Yeah. As a consuming economy where we're not producing anything. For example, he talked about us having a battery factory, we have plastic factory, we have biscuit factory back then. Right where I live at in Ghana's we have a factory. So we don't have nothing. But and just like you alluded to, if you look at Liberia is recently endowed with everything that she needs to make herself better rather than begging. So then that would take us, because I think you nailed it. We're just talking about, and that's why we want to have the conversation, because we're feeding off different views and different perspectives. So what you just said here, just talk about the coastline. Go and see our coastline. I was just in Liberia, I believe, a month and a half ago, and I saw some of those things. Trash in our waterways. See it. You know, you have people exploiting us of our fishery and things like that. But this is your debut, so I don't want to get into it. I want to hear it for you. So we want to talk about the weak rule of law. Like I said in my opening statement when we pivoted. What just happened just a week ago? Then we go back to 2 months ago, a divided house, a house that now we have two Speaker of the House. One, the legitimate one. I don't know if I stand to be corrected. Fernando Kofa who saying that he would not step down till the rule of law prevails. So we do have two Speaker of the House. Then you talk about the recent protest. You know, now finally we have a Capitol building that's burned. And like I said, you know, in my opening statement, I talked about your commentary that you wrote down so brilliantly composed and penned. So talk about the weak rule of law. What do you think about the fate of Liberia with the question, is there any hope for the future of Liberia?
Liberia have hope, but you know, for us now, we live in the future. You know, me and you live in the future. This is it. There's not much out there left for us now. You know, I don't know how old are you, but once you hit the 50, you know, you're closer to death than living, right? And it could be vice versa for anybody else. So let's accept that reality. So what do we do now? We shouldn't be focused on how to improve our life. We should be focused on how to improve the children behind us. So for me, the future of Liberia lies in those people. And I think you and I have had, you know, previous conversation before. I'm like, this breed of political leaders, very few. Out of the 100 you may have, I'm just giving you a number now. Out of 100, I would probably take maybe 2 or 3 that are really inspiring to take Liberia to that journey, right? But other than that, my hope, my future, my belief is in the young, you know, the young children, those minds that have not been corrupted yet. Because think about the current group, you know, group of leadership that you have and the people that surround them. What you think those people surrounding them are going to learn from them? The same chaos they're perpetuating. So we keep taking leaders from among the you know, the power that is already tinted, right? And expect them to change, expect them to be different. Who told Baka going to be different? Baka is a seasoned politician. So it's all of them that's in there. They all seasoned politicians. And they have never delivered any goods to Liberia that is meaningful to the ordinary masses. Today in Liberia, kids should not be paying tuition. We should have free and compulsory education all the way to the 12th grade. Our money should not go to anything else. Take care of that first and then deal with the rest of the other stuff, right? What prepared Nigeria? We always say Nigerians are smart, Nigerians are smart. Yeah, because their first president, that was his #1 goal. Free, compulsory education from elementary to high school. They even pay people in the northern part of Nigeria to allow their kids to go to school. So it became a competition. You got one house with a PhD, the guy across the road, I'm going to get a PhD. This one. So you go everywhere in the world, you find Nigerians, well-educated, well-situated. But here in Liberia, parents cannot afford to send their kids to the basic elementary or daycare center. I mean, come on. But yet you got politicians constantly fighting to raise their salary, right? I just learned that the new law was just passed to pay them $5,000 for life when they retire. Come on, dude. Half of the country resources is going to pay the salary of these legislators. So the burning of the Capitol building, while we shouldn't accept it, it should be condemned by every well-meaning Liberian. But we also shouldn't forget the vacuum in which that mindset, that someone think they needed to do that, right? Let's also look at that. You know, when people are so depressed and pushed to the ground, right, that they have no hope, these are things that result out of that. Hope is something that we must keep alive, and we must keep hope in the life of these young people. So to answer your question, I believe in the future of Liberia because the resources are there. The young generations, technologies is helping tremendously. My hope is we're going to have a leader that is coming from the business mindset. Countries that are developed today, countries that are built, it is built on the idea of business mindset, where resources are allocated for the right purpose, where innovation and creativity is the central point that drives that country moving. You look at Dubai, you look at Singapore. Singapore and Liberia had the same economy in the 70s, right? Same economy. Look at where they are today. Global horsepower. China was just a third world country in the 90s. Look at today where they are, right? Look at Ghana. I remember when Ghanaians used to come to Liberia and we used to tease them. They were standing online for bread. Look at where they are. So I don't know that we have those kind of creative, innovative leaders right now in the midst of the power that we have. But if we can step back as Liberians, when we're ready to elect our next leader, let's look for leaders who have track record of building, creating resources and company, right? Let's look for those kind of leaders. If you run your country as a nonprofit, this is the result that you continue to get. You're going to continue to be in destitute poverty. You're going to always go out to reach and beg other people to move. So we need innovation. We need to get away from these political prostitutes that we keep electing all the time. So for me, that's my answer for Liberia problem.
So that's really powerful. Thank you very much for that. The extreme, I would say, extremely powerful vision. And I believe that with faith, hard work, and dedication, we as a people can definitely achieve whatever we put our mind to. And to conclude with, the third point is obvious. We talk. I wanted to ask you about the challenge that we have attracting long-term investor, for critical, infrastructure project. It's obvious that people would want to invest their resources in a country that don't have just security. With everything that's happening, people will hold back their resources. So just because we don't have enough time, we're a little over an hour. I want to take this time to thank you very much. But what would be your closing remark before we conclude here? I mean, look forward to having you back on the show. I think tonight you share with us wealth of information. I hope that our viewers will be able to learn from the interview. But I'd like for you now to give us your closing remark. And your closing remark, what word do you have to send out there to fellow Liberians? The words of encouragement in spite of the storm.
Yeah, thank you, Ayete. Thank you thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor to share my story and the work we are doing through Solid Foundation Charity. I believe that together we can create, a lasting change for Liberia and beyond. What we need to do is, as Liberians, we just need to figure out, and then each of us has something to bring to the table. No one should be dismissive of another person's idea just because it doesn't resonate with you or it doesn't make sense to you. Because in Liberia, we quick to dismiss rather than bring a solution to problems. When Ayete started this program, from the onset, it was just he alone talking, and people thought he was just a bubblehead or talking head. But not only did he just do the talk, he actually walked the walk. He went to Liberia and identified with the people, the masses that he'd been talking about, to understand their need. So let us reach out to our neighbor. Let us reach out to our friend. Let us reach out to our brothers and sisters. Let us reach to some of our friends that we have not even talked to in a long time. Call them, check up on them, share ideas about, the future of Liberia. We have to build our country. We cannot sit there and assume that, some magical movement, somebody else is going to come and put their money in Liberia to develop Liberia for us. It has to be us. We have to start the initiative. International partners will come in, but provided when they see what you're doing. You can't ask somebody to come eat when you don't even have the resources or ingredient, to make the meal. What are they coming to eat? I can't tell people come for tourism in Liberia when you don't even have the infrastructure there, So we need to start to look into the type of leadership that can drive our country. But, I would say don't give up, look around your community, see what help you can get, right? If it's just the matter of mobilizing, the community people to sweep the street or, pick up some of the garbage, that is okay. That's your contribution. We have waterways that filled with plastic bags everywhere. I mean, insane. That is killing the environment, killing the fish, killing the ground itself. And these things are slipping into our waterway. Mobilize, group of people, ask them, your community leaders. You don't have to pay people to do these things all the time. This has to be something that we have to be waiting to do. So I would say Liberia have a lot of potential. Don't give up on Liberia. And I encourage all my brothers, especially in the diaspora, it gets disheartening when you see what's going on. You'll be like, oh, I don't want to be part of that. I just want to stay. But please don't. Please don't. I've heard that in many circles. People are disheartening because of what they see. And I get it because we work so hard for our money. And when we send it to families and friends up there to even do the basic thing for us, it becomes a hurdle and we lose most of the time. But take a time, visit Liberia, spend some time, stay outside of Monrovia, go to other part of Liberia, identify. Liberia, listen, Liberia is a cash cow. There's so many opportunities. All of the ideas, for me, I tell people, I say, I have outlived my time in America, and I'm ready to make that transition to Liberia because I have so many, skill set. I didn't even tell you about my culinary experience. We didn't have the time to talk about that. But I'm also a professional chef.
Definitely. Wow.
So I'm more into the food manufacturing and food preservation. The problem we have in Liberia is not growing the food, it's preserving it. So somebody can open company there that preserve this food so that tomato is all year round, so that pepper is all year round, so that all of these different commodities that we have that's seasonal, we can be able to preserve it and keep it going. So there's so many things that we can do. And for me, like I said, I'm ready to take the journey. I'm looking at the next 2 years to, say goodbye to America. I mean, my kids are all, grown, and I will be bouncing in and out and try to see what I can really do on the ground, hands on the ground. So I would encourage every other Liberian for the diaspora, wherever you are, don't give up. We have opportunity, tremendous opportunity. With the advent of technology, things are much more easier now to connect with each other. And let's have a dialogue. Let's go back to read our story, our history. See the importance of Liberia, the major role that we play. Because a lot of times we don't know our history, and if you don't know your history, you don't know where you go. You can't appreciate what you have when you don't know what you didn't have or what you had, right? So let's go back to know where was Liberia 20, 30, 40 years ago before the Civil War. We were not just nobody country. We were a country where everybody gravitated to. When people couldn't make it to America, they went to Liberia because we have freedom, rules of law, liberty, and of course, a strong dollar economy. So people migrated. We can do that again, even better, because there's so many educated Liberians. One of the resources, just to close up real quick, that Liberia had, and I would say the entire African continent, is the diaspora. We are not your enemy. A lot of times, these local politicians on the ground think of diaspora to be their enemy. We are not your enemy. We are the one already driving that economy. A lot of businesses you see owned by Liberians, they've been supported from people in the diaspora or owned by people in the diaspora. So you have a resources here. Tap into your resources in the diaspora. You have doctors, you have engineers, you have creators, you have everything, publishers, writers in the diaspora. Tap into them. But many times when we, like my books, I went to the Ministry of Education several times just to introduce the book in the school system. They want me to pay them. I wrote a book about George Weah, when he was a kid, because his story is so inspiring. I have nothing to do with his politics. But it took me 3 years. And still it didn't happen because there were people near him that wanted to get paid or felt insecure that if this man see we are gonna maybe like him more than me. Stop being insecure. I don't want what you want. You know, so we need to take our insecurity out of our life and allow opportunity for the young people. The future of Liberia lies in the young people. We have an obligation as adults, you know, as leaders, as those who control these platforms, to reach back and pull these young kids out of the destitute. And I think if we do that, you know, we will have a vibrant, you know, country. Hopefully some of us may be alive to see it. I want to, hopefully. But if not, our children will see it. So with that being said, thank you, Ayete. Thanks to the audience. And I hope that, you know, I was able to contribute something, you know, whether it's my life experience, my journey, you know, the tenacity, the persevering, and my desire to serve. You know, I hope it motivates somebody to move, you know, and do something, you know, even better.
Wow. That was powerful. Thank you very much, Mr. Gebah S. Kamara. I think we're on the same page. The fact that everything that you say here, and you know, you truly inspire optimism over cynicism, because I know a lot of folks have given up. They believe that it's over for Liberia, but we're still optimistic and believe that Liberia will be better in spite of what's going on. And you know, as you close, you talk about the children, and I mean, if we can just deny ourselves, lay ourselves down, you know what I mean, so that we can prepare for these kids to come and you know, be the architect, be the designers, so that these kids will come and walk into that alone. And that would bring me to a quote from Frederick Douglass. He said that it is much better to raise strong children than to repair broken men. So we want to close on that note. This is the
I love it.
All Liberians Movement platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We're not in the business of manufacturing place pimps and hustlers. As you all know, the We Too movement is more than just a community. Community is a way of life. So thank you again very much for being on our show. We went a little bit over an hour, but I mean, it was just power packed. It was intriguing. Thank you very much for coming to share with us your story. And so this is how we conclude this show. I have been your host, as usual, C.I. Williams. We look forward to another interview here. Watch out for us on Wednesday. But if we do have emergency shows, we would definitely, you know, reach out to let you know. So again, this is how we can conclude. You have a good day and a good night, good weekend. Look forward to seeing you guys again. Bye.
Bye.
It's all we want to believe. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter.